It's Mo, and it is time for snippets from Issaquah Sewing and Vacuum. This is your chance to get a tip today, and I am going to go with that same vein of what I've been talking about. We are doing spring cleaning. Now, spring cleaning is very important, so I'm going to be using the next few weeks to talk about organizing your sewing studio and some tips that I have picked up um, in just figuring out exactly how to do that. So, a tip a week over the next 3 weeks ought to get your sewing studio in great order. Now, I wish we all had the luxury to pull everything out of our studio and put it back in according to what we actually need. I've often said, if I could just get the sewing fairies to come over my studio and take away what they know to be true I'm never going to use again, that would be awesome. That would be awesome because then I would have room to do absolutely everything. But in the meantime, let me tell you what I know when it comes to organizing your sewing studio. The first thing is your surfaces. Let's talk about the sewing surfaces, and today's tip is about that. In your sewing room, you need to have three surfaces. One is going to be the area with which you set up your sewing machine. And it would be ideal if we had the luxury to have these fabulous tables. And if you want to learn more about fabulous sewing and embroidery tables, come down and look at what we have in stock. Koala, Horn, they make wonderful, wonderful tables. But if that's not the case, you might be using your dining room table. You might be using a folding table. All these types of things are going to be okay and appropriate. But the first thing to do is to put that in your sewing room. Where is your sewing station going to be? And when you set that up, let's set the machine a little bit to the left. Go to the left of that surface so that you're using the left side of your machine for to support any type of bulk or weight of fabric that might occur if you're doing a quilt or a large project. Okay, so your sewing station is in place. The next surface you want to set up is your ironing station. There's a lot of opportunities. I mean, we've talked about irons. There's so many different types. But you do want to set up a station that's dedicated to pressing. That might be your professional all-in-one pressing station. That might be your Laura Star professional iron. That may be your small little go-to iron that you love to have that you keep close by when pressing. But you do need to have a pressing station set up. The third flat structure you're going to want in this area is a cutting station. So we're going to have sewing, pressing, and we're also going to have a cutting station. Now, there is the luxury where maybe you possibly have an opportunity to have a cutting table. This is an awesome cutting table we currently have on our floor. And look, this is only 15 inches right here. So for storage, it's pretty easy to put away because it's 15 inches. And on either side, I can raise these leaves out and I can create an entire cutting surface that's 72 inches long. I can open either side, and this one comes with a drawer as well. So possibly, if you're working on large projects and need a large cutting surface, a cutting table is the right thing for you. But when you look at cutting mats, you see that cutting mats come 72 inches, 36 inches, 24 inches, all many different sizes. So find the cutting area and the cutting surface that's going to work for you and your space and set that up. Now, another trick to setting up these stations is to set them apart from each other because it's a really good idea. I know I can go in my sewing room, sit down to sew with a small little pressing station and be there for hours. And you know what? For your good health, you should set them farther apart and force yourself to have to get up and move around the room and do a little bit of cutting, do a little bit of sewing, and keep that blood circulating. We want to keep healthy while we're doing what we're doing. So, three stations: the sewing surface, the cutting surface, and the pressing station. Those are the three areas. Then if you were going to go in and attack your room, the next thing we're going to talk about, and that'll be next week, is options for how you store the things around the room. And that's going to be really fun. Stay tuned next week to learn about storing. In the meantime, this is Mo at Issaquah Sewing and Vacuum. We got a lot of fun things coming. Be sure you've signed up for our Sew Time membership, because on the 29th of this month at 10 a.m., I'm going to be talking all about applique, and we're going to be looking at many different types of applique, and that is going to be a lot of fun. Be sure you're on our newsletter as well, so that you can see upcoming events and things that we have planned. Today's deal of the day, let's talk about that. I almost forgot. I know I forgot a couple weeks ago, but let me tell you this. Since we're talking about surfaces, the deal of the day is our pressing surfaces. So when you come into the store, our pressing surfaces will be 25% off. And this is what I'm talking about. Right here I have a wool mat, right? So a wool mat is a fabulous pressing surface. It works so nice with your seams, opening up seams. If you're an embroiderer, it really helps so that you can press your embroidery out really well without having puckering or things like that going on. A wool pressing surface is really awesome. Another pressing surface we have here in the store, made by the trusted name OmniGrid. Now this OmniGrid is really tremendous, because if you look at it when we open it, it has both cutting and pressing. You can press on one side and cut on the other. We love this. Love, love, love this. And look, it can fold all the way in half, so you can use one side or you can use the other. We love this surface, and it's really wonderful for travel. So those of you who like to go on retreat or go sew with your buddies, this is a really versatile piece to have. But our pressing surfaces are what we're going to make the deal of the week. And also, I have asked for additional tips, and I've said to you guys, if there's anything you want to know, please ask me and I'll help you out. I'll look it up. Well, the number one question that keeps coming through, and I keep looking, is how do you store your threads? Well, let me tell you, there are as many ways to store threads as there are all of you viewing. Everybody has a different tip or trick that works with them. So if you send me any type of tip or trick at issaquahsewvac@gmail.com, any tip or trick you think works in an outstanding way, let me know, because I will share that later on in June. We are going to study up different ways you might store your threads, because some people like to see their threads and some people want their threads stored out of the way. Many, many different ways to do that. So I am recruiting all of you to be part of that tip of the week. In the meantime, this is Mo at Issaquah Sewing and Vacuum, and it's been awesome talking to you today. Take care. Bye-bye.